Charts are graphical representation of data. They make it easy to identify and compare relationships in data. It is also possible to visualize trends in data when you put the data in a chart. Before you chart data, it is important for you to identify the type of variables you have in the data so that you can make a chart that makes more sense for the type of data you have. For instance, in this example, there are two variables or fields in this data. The first field, location, is a categorical variable. The second field, count, is a discrete numerical variable. The best way to plot this data is on a bar plot. If you select the data you want to plot, if you click on the quick analysis icon and select the charts tab, you will be provided with recommended charts for the data you have selected. For instance, the number of recommended charts here are 3. There are two cluster types and a pie chart. These are probably the best ways to represent these data. If you hover over an item here, you will be provided with a preview of what the chart would look like. If you like what you see, you can click on it to use it. Note that it is not just about what you like, but what makes sense to the end user of the worksheet. Alternatively, when you make a selection of the data you want to chart, on the chart group of the insert tab, you will find the recommended charts command. If you click on recommended charts command, you will be provided with a list of recommended charts for the selected data. You can preview the recommended charts and select one that you think is most suitable for you. Again, the clustered column chart comes up, and if you read the description provided here, then you will find out that this is more like a bar plot. It is actually a bar plot, and a bar plot is the best way to represent a selection of data that comprises a categorical variable and a numerical variable. To use this chart, make sure it is selected on this list and click OK. Even if your selected data consists of one categorical variable and 2 or more discrete variables, a bar plot is still the best chart for displaying the data. For example, with this data selected, if I click on recommended charts, I am provided with a list of recommended charts for the selected data, and on the list, the clustered column chart is still the first on the list. Okay, you also have stacked column. Okay, so this is clustered column, stacked column. This chart is a scatter plot, and it does not make sense for this data. This is a clustered bar plot, this is a stacked bar plot. They are the same as the first two we've seen, and this makes a lot of sense. It shows a proportion of female and male for each of the location. The locations with the highest proportion of female is Gombe and Lagos, and you can see that from the data there. So when you make up your mind on which of these recommended charts you want to use, select it and click OK to create the chart. I'll resize this chart so that I can move it aside and show you other chart types. Assuming I want to create a chart of just one numerical variable, for instance, this variable, the female variable, then if I make the selection of the numerical variable and click on quick analysis and then select charts to get recommended chart types, it would surprise you that all the charts provided here are not suitable to for the selected data. Okay, so the best chart to use for a single numerical variable is either a histogram or a box plot. You will find a histogram or a box plot if you click on Insert Statistic Charts on the Charts group of the Insert tab. So you have histogram there and a box plot there. The good thing about box plots is that they will highlight outliers in your data. They also provide other information such as the median of the data and the interquartile range. So this is the histogram for the chart, for the data, sorry, and let's create a box plot for the same data. So on the Insert tab, on the charts group of the Insert tab, I'll click on Insert Statistical Chart and select box plot. Okay, so that just changes the chart. One change you may want to carry out on the histogram is to adjust the bin width. To adjust the bin width, right-click on the horizontal categorical axis and select the Format Axis option. That will launch the Format Axis pane. Make sure the radio button for bin width is checked and then change the bin width to a size of your choice. For instance, I'll change the bin width to 17 and hit enter on the keyboard. The chart have been recreated with a bin width of 17.0. It is also possible to change this bin width to a smaller size, let's say 8.5. If I hit enter on the keyboard, the chart has now been recreated with a bin width of 8.5. Let's change the bin width back to automatic and close the Format Axis pane. To compare two numerical variables, you should use a box plot. So if I want to compare the male and female variables with those variables selected on the charts group of the Insert tab, I'll click on the Insert Statistic Charts and select box plot. So there is a box plot for female and a box plot for male. You can see the median for male there. The median for female is also there. And one thing to note about this chart for both variables is that there are no outliers. To find out the relationship between two numerical variables, the best chart type to use is a scatter plot. For example, in the selected data, it is possible that weight explains height and height responds to weight, or height explains weight and weight responds to height. In either case, to find out the relationship between weight and height, we will have to use a scatter plot. To create a scatter plot for the selected data, on the charts group of the Insert tab, click on Insert Scatter or Bubble command and select Scatter. A scatter plot has been created. It is immediately possible to see that the relationship between weight and height is positive. It is possible to add chart elements to this chart that will provide more information. To add chart element, with the chart selected, click on Chart Element. For this scatter plot, you could decide to add trend line. There are various options for adding trend lines to a scatter plot. You have linear, exponential, linear forecast, 2-period moving average, and more options. You can also get all these options if you click on the Add Chart Elements command on the Contextual Design tab for chart tools. You're provided with trend lines there. You have linear, exponential, linear forecast, and moving average. You also have more trend line options here. I'll click on more trend line options. And here I'll select linear, scroll down and select display equation on chart. This is the mathematical model that represents the linear trend line for the scatter plot. So that's the linear equation for this trend line, and that could be used as the model for this data. With the chart selected, you are also provided with chart styles and chart filters. There are two contextual tabs for chart tools, the design and the format contextual tabs. You can explore these tabs for yourself. You can add other elements to make your chart more meaningful. For instance, I'll add the axis titles. So you can add the title for the vertical axis, as well as the title for the horizontal axis. It's also possible you want data labels. Okay, so and that's the data labels for each point on the scatter plot. This could be very useful if you are displaying data for multiple variables. You could use a legend to provide information. Okay, for instance, Here you're told that the uh, small circle, okay, represents height, and the broken or dotted lines represent a linear um, trend. Okay, okay, so that's it. You could edit the title. You can explore all these elements and see what options you have to make them look more meaningful.